Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, everybody. What's going on? This is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley. Welcome back to the Big 12 Insiders. Appreciate everybody being in here. Had a crazy Tuesday. There were a couple of really good games, a couple of games that I thought teams needed to win. One of them didn't. And it's going to be problematic for them to be able to make the tournament. I'll just quite honestly be frank with you. Cincinnati, come on, man. I just can't get Cincinnati right. Football, basketball, just can't get you right. Either way, was another good night of college basketball within the Big 12, man. Really, really exciting. Today, we're going to talk about power rankings and rank every team 1 through 16. Some are pretty obvious, some maybe not. We'll go through all of that and break all of that down for you. We'll also have a recap of the games last night. So appreciate everybody being in here. Before we do, remember to like, follow, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Continue to get in those comments sections and always hit the notification bell so you know exactly when Big 12 Insiders content comes out. So first things first, let's get into last night. Kansas over UCF 91-87. Kansas again had a couple of injuries, guys out, but they were able to come through. UCF, I thought, look, Kansas fans, you can be as mad as you want. There were some questionable calls at the end of that basketball game. If you watched the game, at the end of that game, there was a few questionable calls that didn't go their way. I get it. Maybe a couple of calls here or there throughout the game happened, but at the end of the game, if a call needs to be made, you have to make the call. You can't just swallow your whistle. They did. But Kansas made the plays to win. I'll give them credit. They made the plays to win. Badunga still getting out there. KJ Adams came back. They kind of split the number of minutes. I thought that was great by Bill Self. Self recognizes Badunga's got to be out there. KJ made the free throws basically that gave him the win last night. I totally understand that, but you can't deny Badunga's impact on that basketball game, man. 10 points, 11 rebounds, 2 steals, and 5 blocks. He's got to be out there. He's got to be out there for KU to be at their best. Period. End of story. It was a valiant effort by UCF. I think if they can continue to play this way on the road, they're going to win a few more games. And I think this might be able to propel them into the tournament. We had 8 teams in the tournament. It was actually 9 until this weekend. And I'll talk about a team that has basically played themselves out of the tournament. And UCF might be a team that can take that spot and get themselves into the NCAA tournament. But they got to win some games on the road. But if they keep playing like this, they will. Arizona State. This is one of the teams that I said had to go win. And they did. 70-68 on the road at Colorado. Wasn't the most impressive thing, but you know what? It doesn't always have to be. Just win a game. And that's what they did. They went on the road and won a game. I didn't say they had to go blow Colorado out. I said they needed to go win, and dagnabbit, they did it. So credit to them for winning the game. Like I said, not the most impressive thing, but I think what Arizona State needed is to be able to win a game, especially on the road. And okay, now maybe we got our legs under us and we can go win, string together some wins here because, again, bracketology has them as one of the first 4 teams out. They are right on the edge. Just some more wins. A little push here in February can get them into the tournament. So maybe this is the kickstart to that. Colorado, continuous, just a bad season for Colorado. Not sure it gets turned around, to be quite honest with you. It's unfortunate. Best game of the night, BYU 93-89 over Baylor in overtime. Credible basketball game. I think BYU, kind of like football. Now, I don't think they're the most underrated team in the country like they were in football. But nobody's really talking about them, and I think people need to start talking about BYU more. They got a good basketball team. Now, they don't really defend that well, but, they can score it. And when you can score it, it takes some of the pressure off of not necessarily being able to defend. But that was a problem last year, and they got into a physical game. But I think they're more equipped this year to deal with physicality, where last year they weren't equipped to deal with physicality. This year they are. I like it. I like what I see. That was a great game. Baylor had won 2 in a row. I think they kind of needed this win on the road. They didn't get it, but they did play okay. You know, they battled back, played to get the game into overtime. They had their chances, man. They had their chances, but Baylor's got to start stringing together a string of wins here. They had lost some, then they won 2, now they lost another. The inconsistency, you know, I said a week ago that Baylor might be one of the teams that everybody thinks is really good and may end up missing the tournament. Well, they got to kick it into high gear. They're not in danger of missing the tournament right now, but we got at least another month before any of that gets decided. Baylor's got to turn it on now. I'm not saying they have to be playing their best basketball right this second, because I don't believe anybody needs to be doing that. But you got to start getting more consistent, and that's the problem with Baylor. They're just so inconsistent. And then the last game, Utah 69, Cincinnati 66. Cincinnati has literally played themselves out of the tournament. I said this was a game, if you wanted to be considered serious and a team to make the tournament, you have to go win this game, and they did not. I don't anticipate this getting turned around. Look, I've questioned the coaching at Cincinnati and at Arizona State. Arizona State fans they've had it with Bobby Hurley. Now, there's going to be some people that come out and support him, but for the most part, they've had it. You get NIL, you got all these players, the recruiting class, yada, yada, yada. Why are you this bad? I get it. Cincinnati, a lot of their fans are the same thing. Both fan bases, especially Cincinnati, extremely smart when it comes to basketball. And they just don't like what they see. Just not enough there. Cincinnati was supposed to be good. They were supposed to be good. There's no getting around it. There wasn't maybe Cincinnati's going to be okay. Maybe they'll finish middle of the pack of the Big 12. That wasn't the case. Everybody expected them to be better. They're not. It's a problem. It's a problem. And again, you want to be considered and taken seriously. And I'm not saying that playing at Utah is an easy game. I never said that. But if you want to be taken seriously, this is a game that you had to go win, and you didn't. And they've played themselves out of the tournament. They got a lot of work to do, if they want to get back into the field of 68. So that's what happened last night. Let's shift gears to the power rankings. Some of these are pretty easy. 16, Colorado. They're just not a very good basketball team. They haven't won a league game. It's not going very well for them. Cincinnati is at 15. I just finished talking about them. It should be better. And maybe you think that there's some other teams down there. Well, I mean, no, Cincinnati's not any good. They haven't played good basketball since league started, and this is where they belong, in my opinion. Arizona State at 14, same thing. Maybe they can kickstart it because they do have talent. You know, there's not a question on whether Arizona State has talent. I just question Bobby Hurley. I've never been sold that he was a good coach. I'm still not sold that he's a good coach. I'm sure a lot of you might disagree, but I have heard from a lot of Arizona State fans, and they are not that high on Bobby Hurley either. And just like I'm not, I think they could be better with better coaching, but this is where they are right now. At 13, Kansas State. Look, they won a game against West Virginia. I get it. West Virginia's had the flu, but West Virginia is a good basketball team. And Kansas State dismantled them. They played well for 30 minutes against Baylor the night before that, or the game before that, but let it go in the last 10 minutes. This is another team that should be better. Kansas State should be a better basketball team than what they currently are, but I'm not sure that they can get this thing turned around. Maybe they can, maybe they can't. A lot of Kansas State fans are out on Jerome Tang. I'm not out on Jerome Tang. I think Jerome Tang built a bad basketball team. You know, with NIL and the transfer portal, he put together a collection of players and didn't put together a team. And when I say that, you can bring players together, but you also have to be building a team and make sure the parts fit with each other. They didn't do that at Kansas State, and you're seeing it here with the results, especially in conference. Oklahoma State, next up at 12. New coach. They fight every game. They're not the most talented team, but they fight. And that's all you can ask for a team that's absolutely in rebuild mode. This program is in rebuild mode, but they're fighting. And that's all you can ask for them. How long will that fight last? We'll see. They've won a couple of games that maybe people didn't think they would. Give them credit. But they're not the best basketball team right now. But I will give anybody credit when you fight. And that's all you can ask. Give the effort. And they are giving the effort. At number 11, I have TCU. TCU's inconsistent. I don't think they score the basketball well enough. They got a couple of victories over teams that you didn't think they would, but they've also lost a couple of games you didn't think they would. I thought they might have been at the beginning of the year a tournament team. That has turned out not to be the case. They just can't score the basketball consistently enough to be considered that serious of a team within the Big 12. Utah at 10. This is where it gets a little tricky for me. I like Utah. Again, not the craziest amount of talent, but they play extremely hard. They play smart. You saw that against Cincinnati last night. Cincinnati has more talent than Utah, but Utah, they're just they play smarter basketball. I think the coaching has a lot to do with that too. Now the game was in Utah. I'll give them credit. They kept their home court, which you're supposed to do. But I like Utah. I don't know if they're an NCAA tournament team though, but I do like Utah. A month left to go in the season. Again, a lot can be determined. A lot can be determined right now. At number 9, UCF. That was a game I thought UCF could have won at Kansas. Kansas has better players, but Kansas, look, is not the overwhelming talent discrepancy like it usually is within this conference. That is not the case anymore. Having said that, UCF played a really good game. They came into Allen Fieldhouse after being the doors just being rocked off of them. KU went to UCF earlier in the season and destroyed them. And then you go on the road and you're thinking, man, it might end up the same way. UCF said, absolutely not. We're in this thing till the end. They fought until the end. I like them. Again, a nice February push. They keep playing the same way they're playing. They will be the 9th team. If the Big 12 gets 9 teams in, they could be the 9th team to make the tournament out of this conference. Number 8, BYU. I like what BYU's doing. Now, look, I have Baylor at 7 and BYU at 8. I get it. BYU just beat Baylor. And I know people, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, yada, yada. I just think Baylor is a better basketball team. Look, they won a game at home that you had to go to overtime to win. You're supposed to win your home games. But on a neutral site, Baylor's better than BYU, in my opinion. That's the way the reason that I ranked them the way that I did. So I like BYU. I think they're a really underrated basketball team, but at 7, I just think Baylor is better than them. Same thing with West Virginia. I like West Virginia. I think West Virginia, injuries, sickness, once they get it back together, I think they're better. Now, power rankings-wise, that's tricky because you could easily say that BYU and Baylor are playing better than West Virginia. I totally understand it. I get it. But, again, at full strength, I like West Virginia. So hopefully they get back there and these things are fluid, so it'll change next week anyway. So West Virginia can't snap out of this thing. They may drop 4 or 5 spots from here. As I see it right now on a neutral site, this is the way that I see things. At number 5, I've got Kansas. Kansas is a really good basketball team. They're just not the Kansas of old. Somebody told me and got in the comments yesterday, said Kansas was extremely talented. And I said, I never said they weren't talented. I said, but what I did say is Kansas doesn't have all the lottery picks that they usually have or all these first-round draft picks that they usually have. That's the difference. It's like Kansas is talented. There's no doubt about that. And they also have Bill Self, who I still think is the best coach in the country. But they don't have the same type of talent that a Kansas team usually has. And you're lying to yourself if you say that they do. That's just not the case, which is okay. You don't always have to have the most talent to win. But I still like this Kansas team. Are they going to be there in the end, though, in the Big 12? I don't think so. I don't think they're good enough to get over that hump, and I have them at 5 right now. At 4, I got Texas Tech. I've told you guys on many occasions I like Texas Tech. I do. I think this is a team that I actually do believe can be there at the end in the Big 12. I think they got some fight in them, and I think we're going to see it. I think once when push comes to shove, I think we're going to see it. I think they've got some fight in them to be there in the end. And I also think that even though everybody on their team wasn't there last year, I think they're taking the mantra of, we embarrassed ourselves in the NCAA tournament last year. We're not going to let that happen again. And I think they've kind of taken that mindset and it's carried over. And again, I know they got transfers and all that stuff, but you got enough people returning. You got coaches that are there. I think they've taken that mantra of, we got something to prove. The proverbial chip on their shoulder, shall we say, is what Texas Tech has. Now, 2 and 3, to be quite honest, I don't think there's a debate. I've got Arizona at 2. I've got Iowa State at 3. Now, the easy thing to say is, well, Arizona just beat Iowa State. Yeah, they did. But again, the counter to that is Arizona needed a 65-foot shot just to send the game in the overtime at home. But I guess the counter to that counter is Iowa State, if you make a free throw, the guy could have made the shot from the moon. Wouldn't have mattered. You still would have won the game. So you opened yourself up to that, and then you let the game get away from you in overtime. It's the way things happen. Now, this also isn't where, Iowa State is playing pretty well, but they've won 2 of 3 or 3 of the last 5. Arizona 4 of the last 5. Heck, you could go back. Arizona's won like 10 of 11. And Iowa State's won a ton of games too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. But right now, this is the way that I see it. I see Arizona being, again, in a small sample size of over the last 5 games, they're 4-1. Iowa State's 3-2, and Arizona beat Iowa State. So that's one of the reasons that I have them ranked the way that I do. Doesn't mean that I don't think Iowa State is a hell of a good basketball team, because I do. I think Iowa State is a Final Four team. I absolutely believe that. But as we sit right this second, I've got Iowa State ranked behind, I should say, Arizona. Because I like this Arizona team. Now, somebody got in the comments and said Arizona is playing their best basketball right now. And I'm like, hold on. You don't want to be playing your best basketball in January. I would say Arizona's playing well, and they are playing well. But saying we're playing our best basketball, that's not going to last till the end of the year. That's not how this works. Y'all been watching college basketball long enough to know you can't be peaking, at the end of January, first part of February. That's not how this works. Playing well and peaking are 2 totally different things. So I would say Arizona is playing well. I'm not ready to say Arizona's playing their best basketball, because we've seen Arizona and some of the mishaps they've had in the tournament. So I don't want to put that label that they're playing their best basketball right now. I just think Arizona's playing extremely well. They're well coached. They got a good team. But let's hold off on the peaking or the playing their best basketball, because I think they got more. I think they got more. So down the road, I think that. And then Houston, number 1. Do I think Houston's a Final Four team? Yes. Do I think Houston's going to be there at the end of the Big 12? Yes. Houston is, they've got coaching, they've got toughness, they shoot the ball better than what they have in previous seasons. I think they have the makings of a possible national championship team. Will that happen? You got to have some luck. And they were about as unlucky as you can get last year in the tournament. When you get one of the best players in the country and your star goes out in a Sweet 16 game. That's about as unlucky as you can get. So hopefully Houston can get some luck on their side this season. But this is how I got the power rankings. 1 through 16. Get in the comments. Let me know what you like, what you dislike. Either way, I appreciate everybody being in here. Love the back and forth with you guys, and we will talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you for watching the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. This has been a Spirit Street production.